Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the NAELPA podcast. I'm so glad you're all here. Each episode, we bring you voices from the field who are shaping the work of multilingual learner education and helping us think differently about how we support students and educators across systems in the country. These short conversations are designed to highlight leaders in the field and give you a quick look at the powerful work happening across multilingual learner education. Today, we're focused on members of the NAELPA board, and I'm excited to welcome Stephanie Vogel, who serves as the NAELPA board president-elect currently, but she will be stepping in to the president role for the upcoming year. So Stephanie, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm always happy to be here talking about NAELPA.
Awesome. Well, to get us started, if you had just a couple minutes to share with someone why they should join NAELPA, what would you say?
Well, I would say that in many cases, especially I could speak from the state education agency role, that we often are working alone in our agencies, that there's either one or two or just a handful of us. And that for me, NAELPA are my closest colleagues. So if I have a question about something, I know that there's expertise and people that I can reach out to. And then there's also the beauty of having some outside LEA perspective that I can use to frame the way I approach LEAs locally, working with the LEA members of NAELPA as well. So it's just these are my people, my colleagues, and I couldn't do my job without them.
I absolutely love that. And you made me think about just when I worked at the Iowa Department of Education as the Title III director, I was the only one in the department. And so I used to have people ask me like, oh, who else is on your team? And I would say, oh, there's three of us, me, myself, and I.
Yes, exactly.
Because it is really isolating sometimes. So I totally agree. NAELPA, when I was a member, when I first started at the Iowa Department of Education and became a member of NAELPA, the networking opportunity, the connections, the chance to just ask people, sort of to share opportunities and challenges. I feel like that networking opportunity was really something that sustained me in my role because I was the only person at the department. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So can you share just a little bit about your work, both within NAELPA and also outside of your role as the president-elect?
When I came to NAELPA, I first entered as part of NAELPA's membership committee's mission to attract people from states that had no representation. So Vermont hadn't previously had representation in NAELPA. So I got recruited through the membership subcommittee. And then I became a member of the subcommittee and then a co-chair of the subcommittee almost immediately. I was so excited to get invited and to have that opportunity. And then an opportunity came up to become the treasurer. And I was happy to do that. And then I was nominated to be in the presidential succession. And I was honored to be nominated and elected into that position. So I'm now the president-elect. And right now I'm just I call it the president in waiting. I do have responsibilities. I do have responsibilities related to my role, but primarily I think the main thing that I've been working on is I sit on the leadership team, and I also help America when she's not available to represent the NAELPA. I step in for her, America being our president. So I've really enjoyed my tenure as president in waiting, and I look forward to taking over this summer.
I love that president in waiting. That's a really awesome term. You know what? And I think NAELPA is such an amazing organization in terms of just the leadership. When people step up, I had a chance to serve as the president years ago when I was a member of NAELPA, and I really have just been impressed to watch the organization year after year, to see how many people step into leadership roles, really support one another in those roles. And so NAELPA is just a really great collaborative space in terms of the board and the leadership. So I can't wait to see what you do following America, who had a great year this year.
Right. And in difficult circumstances, too. So she set a really wonderful precedent in difficult times.
Yes. Well, and you're going to step right into that and lead with courage. So from your perspective, what are some of the most important systems or structures that schools need in place to truly support educators of multilingual learners?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. And coming from the Vermont perspective, I suppose my answer is going to be very different from other people, because it's difficult to have a full structure and system when you're operating with micro populations. So most of our districts here in Vermont have fewer than 25 multilingual learners in the whole district. So that often means a school may or may not have any multilingual learners or even one or two. So I think a system looks very different in that situation than in districts with a larger population. So I think in districts with micro populations, I think what's most important is probably very strong tier one instruction across the system to support all learners, and then having a dedicated multilingual learner specialist to help build upon what students can learn in their general classrooms. That doesn't mean that that works seamlessly. And obviously, some students are coming with more needs than other students. For example, students with limited formal education or interrupted formal education. So I can't say that it's a perfect fix, but I think that combination of very strong tier one instruction and having the support of a multilingual learner specialist is so key. And I know that seems very rudimentary in compared to when you're talking about, dual language programs in districts with high incidence. But that's the reality of where we are in most districts in Vermont.
A lot of states just have such, like you said, different contexts and circumstances. So, what's happening in one state may look and feel a little different. But when you think about just kind of the differences across the country from states that have more rural populations to states that have a lot more urban populations, what's one thing that you see that's very consistent across, no matter like what the system looks like, sounds like, or feels like in practice? Is there some sort of like common threads and themes that we can sort of hold on to across systems?
I think what's really most important is for multilingual programs to have the support of the administrators higher up in the district. So if whether it be a curriculum director responsible for the EL program, and in some cases it's the special services director, I think that person understanding the program and supporting the program and making sure that it's treated like a program, even when it is a small thing, brings more awareness raising into the schools that do have multilingual learners, and to help understand the role of a multilingual learner specialist and who to reach out to when you need support. But really, I think the communication from the district leadership is so important. Absolutely.
And it just makes me think about how in some of our districts, some of the senior leadership may not have a lot of background or training in EL, ML education, and sometimes they don't feel well equipped to provide that sort of instructional leadership piece. But regardless of their training or their background or expertise, what are one or two leadership moves that you've seen make a real difference in improving outcomes for multilingual learners?
I would say first that the communication piece, like I said, letting the multilingual program have leadership in the district, a standalone leadership in the district, so that other educators know to come to them and take them seriously when they are trying to either push in or pull out or whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish with the students. So I would say that's one thing. Another thing is a good leveraging of those multilingual learner specialists in, say, microdosing in professional development across the system, I think is another way that leadership could show support of the program, and they wouldn't need to be providing direct service. They could be using, leveraging the capacity of their multilingual learner specialists in those kind of professional development ways. And it should be across the system in every content area. So it doesn't need to be something separate that silos the program out from everything else that's happening.
Absolutely. And obviously, preferably, something that doesn't silo, right, the program out. So we really want to make sure that our multilingual learners are seen as an integral part of, like you said, the tier one instructional component and everything we're doing to make sure that all of our services are meeting the needs of English learners and multilingual learners. So when you think about being part of NAELPA and the support that's provided by the NAELPA organization, how are leaders specifically supported within the work that they're trying to do? So thinking about what we do for our school leaders and even our state leaders across the country, talk about how NAELPA provides support at that level of leadership.
I would say, first of all, in challenging times, there's an element of commiseration. um, so I'm not going to say NAELPA is also my therapist group, but it kind of is. So there's that piece. But also, it is a great think tank for ideas and collection of ideas and resources and policy. So if I have a question that I'm trying to answer at the Agency of Education in Vermont, I know who I can go to for advice. What has worked in your context? What hasn't worked? What advice do you have in my considering my context? So I've always been able to leverage the relationships that I made at NAELPA to get support with that. I also think there are some advocacy pieces that as state education agencies stand alone, that we're not really, that's not our charge to be advocates, but to be a part of an organization, NAELPA, like NAELPA, it is the voice of MLs, that's their self-proclaimed name, and they can speak on behalf of the needs in a way that I can't as a member of an agency of education. So I really appreciate the role that NAELPA plays to help support our work.
Awesome. I like to think of NAELPA as a treasure trove of resources and supports, and there's always somebody within the NAELPA group who is doing something that you have a question about or who's had experience with something that you haven't. So I totally agree. And I kind of a full circle moment we talked about just when I was at the State Department joining NAELPA as a member. I still stay in contact with folks who, like me, have left their departments and they've gone on to do other things, but we are still connected because we met at NAELPA. And so, once you make those friends at NAELPA, they're forever friends and forever family. So I love that.
And you never left.
You know what? That's the other piece I think that's really great about NAELPA is once you're a member, you never really leave. Like you can't. Like even when you're no longer at the State Department, the work is so important and so engaging and so motivating. You want to be part of it forever. So I absolutely agree. So if you had one piece of advice to leave our listeners with today, what would that be around the support that our multilingual learners and their families need?
Well, I mean, you've teed it up, right? You should join NAELPA. That would be one piece of advice. And I think my second piece of advice in the current climate is to not lose hope. The work is still there to be done, and we're doing it.
Awesome. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing a little bit about your journey and obviously your leadership and future leadership and your vision for the future of multilingual learner education. We're so excited for what's ahead as you step into your role as NAELPA president. We are all here to support you. And then I want to just say thank you to our NAELPA listeners. If today's conversation inspired you, we encourage you to learn more about NAELPA. Consider becoming part of this growing community of educators and leaders committed to supporting our multilingual learners. So until next time, continue leaning on NAELPA, the voice of MLs across the country.